Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Timmins James Bay.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to ask my honourable colleague to elucidate a bit more on the comments from the member for Cumberland Colchester, because we know he was part of that group that went over that we were getting the $1,800 bottles of champagne and that. But the Danube Institute, who partly supported that alongside with my cousin Dan McTague, imagine that, supposedly paying for all this. The Danube Institute is promoting an attack on the work that's being done to defend Ukraine, claiming that it's woke, that we would have members of the Conservative Party over in Europe meeting with those who say there's a deep state over NATO. I'd like to ask my honourable colleague if he's had a chance to look into this mysterious trip with all these bottles of wine and expensive dinners that were given to 4 members of the Conservative Party, including the member for Cumberland Colchester, and whether or not this issue with the Danube Institute document, which says that they are going after woke, so-called woke politics and NATO's support for Ukraine.
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know that there have been very serious allegations, and those allegations have been referenced both on the floor of the House of Commons and in committee, I also understand, Mr. Speaker. And I do believe that the Conservatives owe an explanation. When you get this far-right extremism that's coming out of the benches, and you get, like $1,000 bottles of wine, and not to mention the main courses, and who paid for all this stuff, Mr. Speaker? Was it the individual members of Parliament? Was it, I think there's a lot that needs to be looked into there, and hopefully the Ethics Commissioner will be looking into it. Hopefully the Ethics Standing Committee will be afforded the opportunity to study the matter, because there is some real concerns. Is there a connection between that and some of the positioning today that the Conservatives are taking in regards to Canada and Ukraine trade agreement? I think that there is some merit, because I've heard it on several occasions on the floor of the House, and I was told by 1 or 2 people, Mr. Speaker, that is even starting to come up in the Ethics Committee. Now, I don't know the details, but I sure hope that that is not what the stumbling block is in terms of the Conservative Party's refusal to allow the Canada-Ukraine trade agreement go to committee.
Questions and comments? The Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I know the issue of sponsored travel is coming up frequently in this place. And I brought this up before, and I'm just interested in the Honourable Member's take on this. The member from Timmins James Bay in 2022 took a sponsored travel trip to Berlin, Germany at an expense of $10,489. Now, the trip was paid for by the Friedrich Eberg Stiftung Foundation, and in 2007, NGO Monitor found that FES partnered with politicized NGOs to attack Israel. In fact, Masawa, which is one of the main Israel Arab NGOs involved in the political demonization of Israel, the Honourable Member actually from Timmins James Bay actually held a joint press conference in 2004 with Hezbollah. Hezbollah, Mr. Speaker. This is the Honourable Member from Timmins James Bay. My question to the member...
I think we have a point of order from the Honourable Member for Timmins James Bay.
The member, obviously we struck a nerve about the $1,800 bottle of wine in the Danube Institute, but what he's saying is a falsehood. So if he has evidence, I would have him submit it if they will submit who actually paid for the $1,800 bottle of wine that the member for Cumberland Colchester drank. So if he wants to submit evidence, we would ask them to put the evidence of who paid for all those drinks.
We are descending into a debate which is not necessarily on Bill C-34 that we're supposed to be discussing. I'll have to maybe get the question out from the Honourable Member for Barrie Innisfil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and talk about striking a nerve. My question to the Honourable Member who just gave a speech, would he agree that having a press conference with Hezbollah is ill-advised?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Government House Leader.
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I would suggest is that there are some very serious allegations and concerns related to the far right within the Conservative caucus today, and a trip that was made in which the issue of ethical behavior has also been raised. And I think that there, at the very least, let the Ethics Commission committee and possibly the commissioner get engaged on it.